Sourdough bread. I tried to get into doing this, I think probably about a year ago actually, and I gave up pretty quickly because, like a lot of people, I found the whole idea of the starter and having to feed it every day and stuff, I found it really intimidating. I gave it another try again just maybe a couple of months ago, and I've got really into it. I'm really enjoying doing it now, and the bread is amazing. But it's not just bread, I make sourdough pizzas with it and stuff, flatbread. It's just a bread dough basically, so you can do all sorts with it. So I thought, let's have some fun, because like I say, everyone's getting intimidated, and it's quite fashionable just now to do sourdough stuff and artisan bread, and it's not as scary as you think. So I thought, let's have some fun. How about I'll show you how to do a starter to make one of these. We'll start it off now, and then every day I'll film me feeding it to show you what it looks like and the changes, and hopefully by the end of this week we'll have a live starter that's working, and you'll have a better idea of how to make your own. And then how about we make some sourdough bread together with the starters you guys have made. So, what do we actually need for a sourdough starter? If I'm honest, not much. A big jar, or some sort of, it could be a bowl, a jug, anything, some sort of container to put your starter in. Now, we're going to start off, it's not going to be a lot that we put in, but this thing should, if we work this properly, it should grow. So you want something that's much bigger than you think you're going to need. So we start with that. Some scales or some weighing spoons or something that you can weigh flour and water with. That's it. But it all starts with just catching this yeast that's in the air and giving it an environment that it's really happy in, so that it can multiply, and that's what you want. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use flour and water to give it an environment that it's quite happy in, that it can eat and it can live in and it can reproduce in, and that's your starter. Same amount of flour and water, and stir it. That's it. Honestly, that's it. So I'm going to do this with, let's go 100 grams of each to start with. So 100 grams of flour. Now, the flour I'm using, I can't measure and talk. Give me a wee second. Right, okay, I'm going to finish what's in this bag. That is 101 grams, so it was almost 100 grams, right? The flour I'm using is organic rye flour, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm doing this because this is what I read when I went and did my big mad research on doing this, and the folk I was reading about all went, oh, use organic because you have more chance of getting the yeast that's on the flour, and use rye because there's more of the yeast in rye. I have no idea if any of that's true, if it's all complete twaddle, but this is what we're trying to do. So I'm using this, but other folk are saying they use wholemeal or plain or whatever. You use whatever you've got in the cupboard, okay? But equal parts, so that's 100. And I'm going to add 100 mils of water, 100 grams of water if you're weighing a milliliter and a gram, they're the same thing. So, 100. I better go over. Oh, I've just got all of the worked up. There we go. 100 of each. Here's my top tip. It's much easier to stir with a chopstick, right? I don't know why, but I just find it much easier. The spoon collects the dry flour, and at the end you always get this big lump of dry flour on the spoon that you then have to go and mix back in again. For some reason, chopstick just seems to be the chap for stirring. So it's my special sourdough chopstick. So when I feed my sourdough, this is what I use. So while I'm mixing, we'll get on to that, feeding it. What does that mean? All it means is that yeast eats all, I can look at you if I do it this way, the yeast eats any of the I want to say carbohydrate, I'm just talking rubbish today. The yeast eats any of the sugar that's available in the flour, okay? And when there's no sugar left, basically it kind of goes to sleep or hibernates or whatever you want to call it, goes dormant. And eventually it will go, it kind of die and go yucky and smelly. So you want to make sure it's happy and keeps going, because it's a living thing. So think of this like a grown-up Tamagotchi. Do you remember them when we were kids? The little keyring sort of digital things that you had to keep alive. This is your new Tamagotchi for grown-ups, right? So you have to keep this alive. And how you do that is you feed it every day. Again, equal parts flour and water. You only need to give it like a couple of tablespoons every day and that'll keep it going. Now that's the bit that freaked me out and put me off doing this last year. The reason being I was like, I don't have time to deal with that and feed it every day and do all that stuff. So what happened this year that got me going again was I read somewhere that you actually don't have to do that. And everywhere in the world now people have went, because that's like blasphemous telling you this, right? So basically, it's just yeast. I don't know why this didn't make sense to me before. I used to do this when I made beer. I used to keep my yeast if it was a really good beer and I liked it. I used to get some of the yeast out of the beer that I had made and put it in the fridge and keep it and then make the next batch with it. Because it goes to sleep when you put it in the fridge. You could basically put this in the fridge, right? This is what I do. I make it up, I put it in the fridge. I bake on a Saturday usually. So I put it in the fridge on the Saturday after I've baked. And then on the Wednesday of the following week, I take it out of the fridge and feed it and leave it out so that it kind of comes back up to temperature again and wakes up. And then I feed it every day and then I bake again and then it goes back in the fridge. And it can last in the fridge for ages. I used to keep beer yeast in the fridge for like a month. Don't tell anyone. And it was fine, yeah. So don't freak out about this everyday thing. We will feed this every day to get it going. But then after that, once it's nice and strong, you can put it in the fridge, you'll be fine, you just take it out when you need it. And I've even heard of people freezing it and drying it and stuff like that. So you've got your purists and you've got people that just do this for fun. You decide. But I want you to see this now, right? This is us. It's a thick, I wonder if I can get this in camera, look. It's all thick and gloopy and right? That's the beginnings of your sourdough. This is where it gets really complicated. You ready? This is what we're going to do. You're going to lose some to your magic chopstick. That's life. This. Okay, so all the yeast that's in the air, you want it in there. So come in, little yeasties. Okay? And it's going to eat that. So we don't want to put a lid on it and seal it, but we want it covered so the cats don't eat it, flies don't jump in it, that kind of thing. So, I'm just going to leave it in the kitchen worktop. And I'm going to shove a clean napkin, tea towel, bit of cloth, whatever over it. Porous, so oxygen will still get in because the yeast need oxygen and whatever's going on, but it's covered. And basically that's it. So here's what should happen. Tomorrow morning we'll feed it again. Not as much this time. We'll probably give it 50 grams of flour and water, mix it up, leave it, and we'll do that every day. We probably won't see anything happen maybe for 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 days. Okay, so don't panic. That's the whole point of me doing this video, is so that you can see. So hopefully in about 4 days we should see the beginnings of bubbles starting, and we'll keep going with the feeding, and hopefully then we should get a really good active sourdough starter by the end of the week. So I'm going to go and clear up the water I've just spilled everywhere and tidy up this mess and edit all my waffles out of this because I've just talked nonsense, and I'll do a wee bit of filming on this every day and we'll see how it goes. See you tomorrow morning. Okay, it's very early morning of day 4. I wasn't actually expecting to see any activity until today. So the small bubbles and things we saw yesterday, I was expecting to see today. I wanted to do this. As you can see, There's a little bit of growth. That's the line I drew yesterday morning. So you can see now it's starting to get active. The smell has changed, but I'm going to struggle to describe to you what it's changed to. Up until now it just smelled very much of wet flour. That's just what it smelled like. But there's a slight... There's just something else today. It doesn't smell of wet flour, but it doesn't yet smell sour either, so that takes time to come up as well. But as usual, it's just time to feed it equal quantities of flour and water, same as I've been doing every day. I've been doing 50 grams each, but the difference is today, as you can see, we're starting to build up quite a lot of this stuff. Now what we're going to do, this is going to mess with people's heads here, we're actually going to bin most of this now and just leave a few tablespoonfuls left in the jar and start building it up again from there. It may seem completely counterintuitive, but there's two reasons why we do this. One, as you can see, we're starting to get lots of it, and we actually don't want lots of it, and we only need a little bit each time. But also, the yeast is reproducing and eating everything, and it gets tired out and gets used up almost. So the more of this we have, the more of that tired out yeast we have in there. So it just gives it a chance to refresh and gives it, if you like, it gives it some space to get some new yeast going and things. So we're going to do that today. So I'm on day 4 now. I wasn't expecting, I'd be expecting to do this tomorrow, but this has gone quicker than I thought. So once you can see that, it's when you can see that it is actually kind of starting to go, it's visibly, you can see there's bubbles, there's more bubbles and things in there, that's when it's time to give it a refresh. So that's what we're doing today. Hey everybody, so we've been playing with sourdough starters for the last week. If you've been watching the videos, well, you should really get a Blue Peter badge, because it can't be that much fun just watching me putting flour and water in a jar and mixing it every day. But I wanted to do this video to make that very point. People are terrified about sourdough starters. They think there's some sort of magic or alchemy to it, and it's really complicated and really difficult. Hence why we pay a fortune for these artisanal breads. But as you've seen this week, and this is the very chap, you've seen this week that it's not difficult at all. Basically get a jar and add equal amounts of flour and water and stir it and leave it for a day. And then add equal amounts of flour and water and stir it. And you keep doing that until you start to see some bubbles, and then you know you've got yeast in there and it's starting to work. And the only thing I did different this week was, I think it was about day 4. Hopefully I got that right. If not, somebody will correct me in the comments. But around day 4, mine's actually started working a lot quicker than I expected. One of the reasons for doing this video was I wanted you guys to see that it did actually take quite a while to do. So not to panic if you weren't seeing things happen as quickly as you expected. It takes time. Usually you won't see anything for a good between 4 and 7 days. You know, you just see nothing and you think it's not working. Obviously I do sourdough bread a lot, so I've probably got a lot of the yeast in the air, which is why mine's kicked off a wee bit faster than expected. But what I wanted to see is if I do this. This is day 5. I didn't get the chance to do a video on day 5, but I managed to take a photo. But this is when things really kicked in. You've seen me draw the little line on the jar, and that line is the level of where the starter is sitting. Well, this is the morning of day 5, and you can see it's doubled in size. So that let me know that this is now a really strong starter, and it's probably good enough now that if I wanted to, I could start to use it to bake. So yeah, so here we go, it's here. We've named him Boris because he is the thing that lives, because he's alive. So you can see there, you know, drew the line and he went a bit mad. And this is another reason, I think I said it in the video during the week, where before anyone comments on how much I look like shit in that video, that was 5:30 in the morning and it's freezing cold and horrible, and I was about to go and get on my bike to go to work. So I was trying to do these really quick videos for you guys in the morning. So that's what I look like first thing. Imagine waking up to that every day. Kate deserves a medal. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so that's it. So on day 4 I got rid of half of it because, you know, it's starting to fill the jar and I don't need that much. But also because some of the yeast is kind of like, it's really poorly, it's tired, it's been doing its job. So get rid of half and leave space for some new stuff to grow and it keeps it really alive and really strong. And this is what you do from here on then. So if you haven't already started doing this, or if you're going to do it now after watching this video, what to do, a tiny little bit, like 50 grams of flour and water every day, and give it a really good mix. And then day 4 or 5, once you get quite a bit of it, and if it's starting to look a bit active, get rid of half of it and then do that again. And then from now on, once it's nice and strong like this, you don't actually have to keep loads of it. And when you get loads of it, you just get rid of some of it and you start with a small amount. Now, let me grab mine and show you just how small. And I'm going to have to try and get past this camera without bumping you now, so hang on. I'm back. Did you miss me? This is my actual sourdough starter that I use to make all my bread. Can you see how little there is in that jar? I'm going slow so the autofocus can catch up. Look, I only keep a couple of tablespoons worth and then that goes in the fridge. And I will make up every day. So, okay, here's how I make my bread, right? I'm going to do another video and I'll take you through the steps of making your bread. But I'll give you a couple of weeks so that you can have a go at getting your starter ready and then we'll do some bread together, right? But what I do is I put that in the fridge after I've made my bread and I leave it there. And it's all cold and it kind of goes to sleep a bit and stuff, so you don't need to feed it. Because this is the thing, if you keep it out, you have to feed it every day, and that's the bit that scares people. So I put it in the fridge, and on Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, I take it out of the fridge and just leave it on the worktop, and it brings it back up to temperature. And then Wednesday morning onwards, I feed it 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of water every day and stir it. And then Friday night, Saturday morning, it's ready for me to make bread. And then this tiny little bit is all I'll keep, a couple of tablespoons, and that will go back in the fridge till next week. And it's that easy. So that, folks, was sourdough starter. All you have to do with sourdough starter is be patient, okay? That's all there is to it. It's not a fancy trick. It should smell sour. You'll know yourself. You smell sour and think, it smells sour. I wouldn't want that hanging around in the living room, but I'm not going to retch at the smell either, okay? If it smells absolutely, what we'd say here, honking, if it is absolutely disgusting, you get too much bacteria and not enough yeast, get rid of it, start again. That's all there is to it, okay? So, wee bit of flour and water every single day. After about a week, you should have a starter, you should see bubbles and things, and that's how you know it's working, because the yeast is making bubbles. It's that simple. Right, now here's the cool thing. In a couple of weeks we're going to make some bread, okay? So that gives all you guys a chance to get in there and have a try and make your starter. But in the meantime, I don't need Boris. There's hundreds of them, and I've got my starter. So, if you want some of Boris to do your own sourdough breads, comment down below and tell me why you should get some of Boris rather than going and making your own sourdough starters. And I will send you some of Boris. I'll send this to a couple of you guys, okay? So I'll randomly pick 2 comments from below and I'll send you some of Boris. And let's say I will do that on 2 weeks today, so what? For me, that'll be the 14th of December, okay? So that's 2 weeks today. Let's hope I get this video out in time, but yeah, 14th of December, I will pick 2 lucky people to get some of Boris in the post, and you can put them in your fridge and use them when you want to make sourdough, right? So, don't be lazy, don't steal Boris, go and make sourdough starters, it's dead easy, and then we'll have lots of fun, because it's not just bread, you know, you can do all sorts. I'm about to make some cannelbula with sourdough. If you're good, I might do you a video at some point. See you folks, have fun, bye!